As I'm prepping for this trip, I cannot help but to think if it is not a mistake to leave this beauty, this modern 2024 Genesis GV70, a proper SUV with room for everything and everyone, and transition to this older gas guzzler sedan on our trip to El Paso. It's going to be my wife sitting here. I'm going to be doing most of the driving, and then my doggies are going to be in the back. So as you can see, it gets full pretty quick. I have been driving to El Paso. I've been making that trip for the last 5 years in all the different cars that I've had throughout the years. And this was the vehicle of choice for the last year, but I'm going to leave it back because I want to test the capabilities of this old car as a cruiser to drive about, about 800 miles in this car. Notice how the design language of the interior is geared towards comfort. So let me show you the seats. So you can see they're very, very cushy, very comfortable, but yet I haven't driven this car for over 3 hours at a time. Let's see what awaits for me. I'm comfortable. Look at this old man's foot gear choice, and I'm just ready. You're not gonna have any of the amenities that you have in the other car. So it's just old school. And I replace an infotainment system with the ability to pair this car to my phone with the help of a Bluetooth. You get some static, but nothing that will make me suffer too much. But then you have heated seats, you have a proper AC, you have a very quiet ride, you have a forgiving suspension. And the only major letdown of the GS300 that I can see up ahead is going to be the miles per gallon. So I'm going to record all that by gassing up right before we take off. I think this is rated for 23 on the highway, but I think I can beat that. And if I get 23 or more, then I'll consider myself successful. That beauty right there, that gives me about 25, 26 on the highway. It's rated for 26, and it gives me consistently like 25.5 on these longer trips. Sometimes I'm able to beat that. So I don't see why I wouldn't be able to beat a 23 miles per gallon that this one is rated for. It's a 5-speed, so once you start going a little bit faster, that kills the fuel efficiency of this car. So let's go get my wife. Let's load up into the car and take off. The time is 9:18 and we're about an hour and 18 minutes late out of the house. And right now we're gonna stop at Costco to gas up. I'm doing premium gas. I have been doing premium since I bought it. I haven't been able to find any definite information regarding the strictly requirement of using premium gas in this car. So if anyone of you knows the fact that you're required to put premium unleaded fuel in this car, have you been able to do, let's say, regular gasoline and for years, maybe for many thousands of miles without any issues? I'm not in love with having to pay a premium for gas, especially that this car is a gas guzzler. I mean, in a best case scenario, I struggle to get 23 miles to the gallon. So hopefully by being able to transition to just regular gas, I might be able to save some, but only if it's safe to do so. We're ready to hit the road. We're about 160 miles from Yuma. That's our first gas station where we can fill up at a cheaper price, because Arizona has much cheaper prices for gas than California. And my family is with me. So there's my wife, there's my doggies, and the car is filled to capacity. So in this video, I just want to see how inconvenient or how uncomfortable this car is for road trips. For the last 5 years, I've been driving in the different cars that I've owned. I make that road to El Paso, and it's about 1,600 miles road trip, and I usually do it in about 4 to 5 days round trip. And this is my new car, and like you saw in the introduction, I had the choice of driving in a more modern vehicle, and I just chose this one because I just want to see if this is doable. I mean, I did it with the Acura and it was okay, but that car was a little bit rougher. This car has much more comfortable seats, but don't forget this is an old car. So look at those minute cup holders. We don't have a lot of storage areas, so this is not a modern vehicle for trips like you're accustomed to in much newer vehicles. I mean, the center console is pretty small. We don't have navigation system, so all we have to do is pair up our phones to the Bluetooth in the car via like one of those FM transmitters, and make the best of it, because obviously this is not going to have all the comforts and amenities that my 2024 Genesis GV70 does, but it is a comfortable car for what it is. It is an older car, and it is a cruiser, but this is a longer trip. I'm looking forward to see how good it can be or how bad it can be. We have been on the road for shy of an hour, and we just went from sea level, slightly above sea level, to the high altitude of Alba, California. And now it's all downhill all the way to El Centro, California. So whatever I lost for MPG on the way up here, I'm gonna regain in this downhill for the next maybe 20 miles. So after that, it's pretty flat, and then I'll see you in Yuma. Okay, we're in the city of Yuma. I'm here with my doggies. My wife has to go to the restroom, and then I'm gonna get some coffee and get on the road. We travel 166 miles, already gassed up, and this car was able to give me 25.75 miles per gallon on the highway, which is impressive. The next stop is gonna be in Tucson. It's all flat from here to there. There's some minor grade, maybe 10 miles out of Yuma, and then it's nothing but like a flat desert. So I should be able to get a consistent 25 miles per gallon. I'm pretty confident that if I keep the car at about 75 miles per hour, I'll be able to get consistent 25 miles per gallon, which is pretty similar to what I get on my 2024 Genesis GV70. That car is not great on gas, but that car is not intended to be great on gas. And this car is a 20-year-old car. So back then, the standards for MPG were a lot lower. Anything around me is more fuel efficient. Maybe that van isn't. But 20 years ago, the standards were different. And if I wanted to get a better car for efficiency for these long trips that I do constantly from California to Texas, California to Arkansas, even the East Coast when I went to Florida in that Tesla, I could be driving something like a Prius. But the reason why I chose this car is because I was hoping that this could be a quiet, comfortable car. And it has been so far. I think this is the first time that I've been in this car driving in a single leg for this long, which is about 2 hours and 30 minutes. And so far, it's doing really great. The Genesis, those seats are so hard. When I get on that car, I actually drive it so long for 3 hours at a time, and those seats start punishing my back after the second hour. And this car is doing really good right now. So I'm pretty happy. For those of you that have followed my channel for a while, you know that I used to drive a 2007 Acura TSX, which was amazing. And that car was closer to 30 miles per gallon on this same trip to El Paso. I think this is gonna be more like 25 miles consistently per gallon. But that car was a lot louder. It wasn't as plush. So I like this. I'm liking this Lexus a lot more. And this is a car that is not even a matter of whether you make it or not. This is your first time here, let me show you. This car only has less than 100,000 miles. Unlike that Acura, I bought it with 217 and I got rid of it with 245,000 miles. So that car had a lot more miles. At first, I was hesitant to drive it that long distance because I just didn't know the condition of the car, if it would make it on those trips. But this car, I know that it will make it just because I have that confidence in Lexus. If you have followed my channel for a while, you will know that this is my my fourth Lexus, and it is not a high mileage vehicle, but it is an old vehicle. With less than 100,000 miles, a Lexus is barely having its engine broken in. So I'm pretty confident that I can get a lot more miles from this car in the upcoming months, years. And brings me to the next point. You know, I had that older modern vehicle, and as nice as it is to have a new car, I just don't know if I want to keep that car beyond initial warranty, because what if it has a breakdown? It will be a lot more expensive to fix. So this car, I know that if I keep it for a while and things start breaking down, I can always fix it for cheap. We are on the east side of Tucson, maybe like an hour east of Tucson in a town called Benson, and we're gassing up. It's gonna be a good leg because I feel that I'm gonna be nearing the 25 miles per gallon. Keep in mind that I've been going a little bit more closer to 75 to 80 miles an hour consistently, so I'm guessing that it's gonna drop a little bit for this one. So let's see how it does, and I'll post it on the screen. The gas here is 379, so nobody can complain about that, right? We are in the city of El Paso, and we're taking the 375 loop, it's called, that goes around El Paso for beautiful sights from this area. I don't think I'm gonna shoot anything else. If anything, I'm just gonna go gas up just to make sure that I give you a good miles per gallon. And it's not that I'm obsessed with that particular thing about this car, but it's interesting to me because it's rated at 23. For the first leg, it did 25.75, and for the second leg, it did more like 23 and change. And I think part of the reason was I was going a little bit faster. It was raining, and then we were idling a couple of instances during that trip for maybe a combined 30-40 minutes, so that affected the miles per gallon. But I'm confident right now that if I was to gas it up and average it out, I think it's gonna be over 24. I'll let you know tomorrow. I just woke up because I couldn't sleep, so I said may as well get on the road. So that's what I'm about to do right now. Let's gas up and head home. Right now we're in New Mexico. I think this is called Lordsburg, and we're just at a gas station getting this doggies a break. Gas is here at 382, and I'm just gonna gas up here and then drive to Tucson and pick up a bite to eat and then keep going. 7 gallons for 176 miles. That's an average of exactly 25 miles to the gallon. Not bad. I left El Paso, I'm a little confused with the time zones, but I left El Paso maybe like closer to 6 hours ago, and I've been driving. I already left Texas, I already left New Mexico, and right now I just left Tucson behind, and I'm about maybe 15-20 miles from taking Highway 8 westbound, and I'm gonna leave Highway 10 behind, and I should be in San Diego maybe in another, it's hard to guesstimate from here, 5 hours? And honestly, the drive has been great. When I got rid of my 2007 Acura TSX, my plan was to get another vintage car that was just as reliable. So I went from Acura to Lexus. And honestly, my experience with Lexus is a little bit better than Acura, but nothing wrong with Acura. It's just that what I was hoping to get out of this GS 300 was to get a more comfortable vehicle for these long trips that I do a lot throughout the year. I'm gonna put a lot of bulk miles on this car. I mean, to work, I only drive maybe like 35 miles round trip, but the bulk of my miles are gonna be on this marathonic road trips that I do very often because I hate flying and I love driving. The more I drive this vehicle, the more I get used to the lack of, let's say, the blind spot monitors and the lane keeping assist and all those nannies that now I have to make sure that I am concentrated on the road because the car is not going to correct itself. It's not going to alert me to any cars that are in my blind spots. I would say that if I want to think of it in a positive manner, I can say that it brings me back to the connection to the duty, which is driving. And I feel that sometimes, as much as this automatic, let's say the lane keeping assist and the blind spot monitors and all that, as much as they take the edge of driving, at the same time, it can be a little distracting because you're just trusting that the vehicle is gonna alert you to the things like, yeah, you're starting to swerve or you're starting to, or you're missing a car that is in your blind spot. And with this, you have to figure all that yourself. We just left Highway 10 and we're about to take Highway 8 that takes me straight home. And maybe one more stop in Yuma, Arizona to take advantage of the cheaper Arizona gas prices. And then that's it. I'm only about 2 miles from my destination. So I've been on the road for about 10 hours and 20 minutes from El Paso, Texas to San Diego, California. My trip has been amazing, and tomorrow I'll gas it up because right now I'm too tired, so I can give you final numbers and wrap up this video. And these are my final impressions. I was able to get about 25 miles to the gallon for the entire trip. And this figure is not that accurate because it is the sum of all Phillips divided by the number of Phillips. But the number I think is a little bit off because each leg carries a different weight in the equation. But I just didn't know which formula to use. But the run number is 25.08, which is amazing. It's over 10% higher than what the GS 300 is rated for. And it's always a nice surprise when your car does better than advertised. A 400-mile leg is possible with such a huge gas tank that can hold nearly 20 gallons. It's rated for 455 miles on the highway. The 2024 Honda Civic can go 459 miles, but it is with the smaller tank at 12.4 gallons. So let's not fool ourselves here. I'm not saying that the GS is efficient by modern standards, but I do appreciate the large tank that allows me to stop less times at the pump. As far as the drive, the GS did great considering its age. It's a 20-year-old vehicle that I feel that often punches above its weight when it comes to things like ride quality and cabin noise because of how well it was made over 2 decades ago. Not all cars hold up this well, and for that I'm thankful. The seats are kept in amazing condition, which yields a comfortable sitting position with enough support in the right areas. The lumbar support could inflate a little bit more, but even then, these seats are way more comfortable than the ones in my new SUV. And remember that I replaced the suspension with coilovers, and I also replaced the original wheels and tires with this larger and wider set that, along with the slightly firmer suspension, steals a little bit of the OEM ride quality associated with Lexus, but that's a price I was willing to pay when I went this route. My wife did observe the lack of storage areas throughout the front row. Like I said in the video, modern vehicles offer all kinds of pockets, compartments, multiple cup holders, spacious center consoles that definitely make the experience a little better when you're driving in a car for this many hours. Especially when you travel with 2 dogs and one of them demands to ride in the front with you and on your lap. The GS300 is also ungenerous with cargo space. The trunk is shallow and the opening is very narrow, so it struggled to fit luggage for two. It is a mid-size sedan, and the trunk is very similar to the one that my TSX had. And I mean, the two cars are from the same era, and the TSX was a compact sedan, but that one was front-wheel drive. I did encounter some heavy rain on my way there, and I was pleased with how well the tires did. They are Firestone Firehawks AS V2s. This is my second set. I have my BMW 2, and I like them because they're affordable, durable, not too loud, and they look pretty good as well. And that is it for today. I hope that you enjoyed this video. And if you did, don't forget to hit that like and maybe consider subscribing for more related content. My name is Juan Carlos. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.